Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And guys, things look like they're about to move. I said yesterday that it looked like we may see a move in the next 24 to 48 hours. That would mean, we should see a move in the next 24 hours, this being 24 hours later than yesterday. I think that's a real possibility here, guys. We're looking at, looking at Bitcoin. Obviously, we're still sitting here in this zone here that I told you about, this order block, testing this prior order block here that sits between 35.40 and 35.80, at least on Coinbase. We kind of, if I zoom in here, guys, we had this multiple tests of the bottom of this zone here, and this can only last so long. This support, what is acting as support now, is only going to last so long before it's going to either break down or we are going to get a break up. Now, again, I told you guys yesterday that some people are calling this a bull flag. You could make that argument. It's kind of a weak one, but certainly that doesn't mean this thing can't turn bullish. But if we come over here, we look at our shorts and long positions here. Let me go to the 4-hour so we can look at this a little bit better. We can see that people are abandoning their shorts. Shorts are dropping off the board. Let's go over here. We can see just in the last 8 hours. Let's see, shorts have dropped off 11.3% just in the last 8 hours, which is fairly significant. Especially if we come over here and we look over at longs. Longs have barely dropped off at all. I mean, almost nothing here. I mean, I'll just go ahead and measure here just for let's see here. Yeah, 2%, 2.7%. In overall, longs were stacked in relation to shorts significantly. So this tells me that market makers have a lot of incentive to drive price down. That being said, things are holding, this support has held up fairly well, and we have had, whoops, sorry, that's EOS, that's not what I want, and we have had a little bit of an uptick in volume. If I come over here and I look at overall volume on Bitcoin, we can see that that volume, where it was sitting at 5 billion, pretty consistently, we had that jump up to 7.7 billion. Then, of course, we had an expected drop off, which is, that's obviously to be expected. But since then, volume has slowly been creeping up as price has been slightly dropping down. So volume has slowly been creeping up to where we're sitting at about 6.6 billion for the day. Now that could very quickly change. But the fact that we have some new money entering this market, albeit very, very little bit, new money, I don't know if we can call that new money, or just a lot of the same investors that like to pounce when it looks like things are about to move. But things do look like they're about to move. Coming over here and looking at our moving averages and exponential moving averages, this is on the 4-hour chart. As I pointed out yesterday, there's no question our 8, 21, and 55-day EMA are all converging, along with the 50-day moving average, as well as the 200-day moving average on the 4-hour chart, as well as the Bollinger Bands are bottlenecking. Now let's come over here and let's look at the daily chart. Daily chart, Bollinger Bands have remained fairly narrow, even though we're not getting a whole lot of change here. But we are seeing that 55-day EMA and that 8 and 21-day EMA starting to converge with that 50-day moving average again, also suggesting a possible larger move to come. We've been unable on the daily chart to break above that all-important 50-day moving average right here, guys. We've been testing it. We continue to test it. We have been for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days now. We're on day 6 trying to break above that. Every time you do test a resistance, that resistance gets weaker and weaker. But we're only going to test this thing so long before, as I said, this thing is either going to just go break out or we're going to end up dropping. Right now, I can truly make a case either way. As I said, if I look at longs versus shorts, market makers have a lot of incentive to drive price down to liquidate those long positions. Coming over here, though, we kind of look at this overall pattern here, and this is the fact that this is held up. The fact that this is somewhat of a bullish pattern. Although if I was just looking at this, I wouldn't really put too much weight into it. But if I could zoom out here. Excuse me, guys, I'll clear my throat. If I zoom in here, looking again at the 4-hour MACD, what do I see? Let me kind of zoom in here, guys, so you can see a little bit better. Looking at the 4-hour MACD, and I go from point to point, we have really almost flat here, almost kind of this double bottom pattern here, which is kind of bullish in and of itself. But if I come over here and I look at the exact same point, drawing straight down, look at the histogram here, what do I see? clear bullish divergence. Even though we didn't have a lower low here, really, as I said, almost a double bottom, we definitely had a higher low on the 4-hour MACD, which is bullish divergence, which would suggest a possible uptick here. So, again, we are getting some mixed signals, guys, but overall, overall, the only thing we can say for certain is the charts are telling us that a larger move is to come. The question is that going to be up? Is that going to be down? Do you want to hedge your bets one way or another, or do you just want to wait for that confirmation of a breakout up or down? And what would be confirmation? In my opinion, guys, confirmation of a breakout would be if and when we can break at least above this area right here, this prior high right here, which sits on Coinbase, sits at about 35.60, somewhere thereabouts. Now, clearly, I'd like to take out this prior high, this long wick that we had right here. If we could take that out, that would be ideal. But if we can, I do believe if we can decisively break above, not by a wick, not like we had here, but if we can get a 4-hour candle, both opening and closing above that 36.50, I do think there's a good chance we can at least have a nice spike up to 3800 area right here. I do think that's a real possibility. As I said yesterday, to the downside, if we do end up breaking down below this this order block, this prior order block here, so if we break down below, let's call it 3540, if we do break below 3540, guys, I think it could be a very, very quick, and again, decisively, not by a wick like we saw back here, but a decisive break below. I do think we could find ourselves very quickly down to 3400. All right, what else is telling us that we can see a possible larger move coming? Well, I pointed this out yesterday, guys. Obviously, we've created a series of higher lows here, looking at the bottom of this larger order structure here. But we've also created a series of lower highs. So if we come over here, we just kind of draw this here. What do we see? We can see we've created a series of lower highs. So overall, now let me kind of extend this, guys, so you can kind of see this a little better. Overall, we're creating a series of lower highs, higher lows. I pointed this out yesterday. Approaching the apex of any kind of a wedge, what do you expect? You expect that larger move to come. And it does look like that's going to happen again, guys. The question is it going to be up or is it going to be down? And personally, guys, yes, you could take out a little bit of position here if you wanted to, but I'd be kind of just sitting back, waiting for confirmation of an up or down trend, and then go ahead and play the trade based on that. If price does end up breaking down, possibly scooping up, as I told you guys yesterday, buying here at 3,400, targeting 3,550, somewhere thereabouts, guys, for a very quick scalp trade. But I'd have a very tight stop loss, also knowing that we could break down lower to this 3,250 fairly quickly if 3,400 does end up breaking down. And overall, big picture, guys, I told you a scenario where we could find ourselves down to that $3,000 area fairly quickly if 3,250 does break down. So again, guys, while that does look like this thing could move in a much bigger direction one way or another, guys, there's mixed signals, and there's really no way of telling which way this thing is going to break. And so I would just kind of, in my opinion, I'm a conservative trader. I would kind of, again, just sit back, wait for the trend, wait for confirmation of a trend up or down, and then go ahead and hedge your bets based on that confirmation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap Bitcoin there. Let's quickly look at EOS. This is EOS to the one-day chart. Looking at Bitfinex, guys, we can see that EOS has come up and tested this $3 area. I told you guys last time we spoke about EOS, guys. I believe it was down below, I can't remember if it was below this $2.45 range, guys, or if we actually had broken above. Either way, guys, I told you guys if it did break up that we'd find a lot of resistance between this $3 range and $2.70 range. And certainly we did. Price did end up breaking up, guys, and certainly it found resistance for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days here in this area that we expected between $3 and $2.70. Price has come up yesterday, tested to try to break out of this $3. Did briefly broke out, guys, by just a wick. The bulls or the bears were able to push it right back down. We tested that again today. Once again, the bears were able to push it right back down. But look how many times this $3 range has been tested, guys, and been pushed right back down. In other words, there's a lot of sell orders that are sitting right here, as is evident by every time price since we've broken down here. Price broke up, wick, broke back down. Price broke up, wick, broke back down. Wick, broke back down. And of course, we've we've wicked in here for the last 2 days here. So there's a lot of sell orders sitting here between $3 and $3.15. So if we can decisively break above, by decisively I mean a daily candle now, a daily candle both opening and closing above $3, not opening, not just opening, not just closing, but both opening and closing above $3, guys, that would be, in my opinion, a decisive break above. And at that point, guys, if we get some follow through with volume, that could be a very, very bullish indication. Until that time, though, we are seeing a very hard resistance right at that $3 range, as expected. And why is that a hard resistance, other than the obvious order structure that had been created many, many times in the past here? Sorry, guys, had to pause the video there and get a drink of water. It's killing me. So why is this such a strong resistance here? Well, we're looking at as price ended up breaking down here. What do we have? If we come all the way back here to November of last year, we had a very long wick, break all the way down here, then get pushed right back up. And this was a significant little bounce in this area. Since that little bounce, we haven't had really any kind of a bounce like that. And so if we look at this as our pivot point, where price came back down, came right back up, and we use this as our pivot high, and then price just collapsed from there. So if we use this as our pivot high down to our pivot low, what do we have? Pivot high, pivot low. What do you see? Perfectly aligned 618 to that golden pocket between the 618 and that 65 fib level, guys, which always provide, not always, but very often provides a very, very strong resistance, and certainly that's what it's providing now. We can see that we've bounced off that 618 fib, really, we've wicked into that golden pocket again between the 618 and the 65 fib level numerous times in the last few months, guys, and have been unable to break above. So a break above this golden pocket, which again coincides perfectly with our 315 resistance that we've had marked out here for quite some time. If we can break above this golden pocket here, break above 315 decisively, really a decisive break above $3 would be very bullish. But if we can break above 315, guys, at that point I might believe that a temporary bottom has been in, and this thing might be heading up and have some serious legs, especially if we get that backed up with volume. And coming over here and looking at volume for EOS. EOS volumes on the day, we're sitting at about 1.1 billion. That is a nice little uptick in volume, a slow little increase in volume, guys. If we can maintain above 1 billion in daily volume, guys, I do believe that would signify, that does signify some new money entering the market. But again, not just for a day, not just for a day or two here and there. We need to consistently have daily volume above 1 billion with EOS. If that does happen, guys, and if we get that sustainable volume as well as that break above 315, again, this thing might have some legs. Until that happens, I do believe there's a good chance this thing might end up collapsing right back down, especially if it breaks below this 270. I think it'll be a very quick drop right back into this order block right back here that sits right around 245, right in this area here. I do think it'll at least drop into that area, and if you are wanting to play, if it does drop, I'd maybe a quick scalp trade buying here at 245, selling at 270, 275 would not be a bad idea, but have a very tight stop loss here, because if this thing breaks down with a vengeance, guys, we could find ourselves very quickly down to this 211, even $1.85, depending on how hard this thing breaks down. And we are seeing some indications that we're going to get a major breakout with EOS here fairly soon as well. Why do I say that? Well, if we come over here and we look at just the series of of higher lows that EOS has created, going all the way back to early December, we've obviously created a series of higher lows here. If we come over here and we look at this, the same point going all the way back here to late November, early December as well, what do we have? We kind of have a series of lower highs as well. Actually, let me draw this here to early November. That's where the pivot point really was. So we'll say early December is where we created this series of higher lows. We created a high here. Price came up, wicked them to a lower high here, lower high here, lower high here. So we can see that we're getting kind of a squeeze. EOS is kind of getting squeezed, very similar to Bitcoin, and approaching the apex of a wedge here, which again suggests we might get a larger move to come. All right, zooming back in here, looking at the 4-hour chart, guys. Let's see if we can make a little bit of sense of what's going on with this kind of pattern here. We can see that EOS has kind of been trending up here, and if we look here, we can see that EOS is kind of creating obviously a series of in this microstructure of higher highs. We come over here and we look at the lows that have been created. We can see that we've created a series of higher lows as well. But if we draw a line here on each, what can we see? We can see that it's kind of a small little broadening wedge. In fact, let me even more so here if I put it right out on the tip of this thing here. We can see that we have kind of a broadening wedge pattern here. And anytime you have kind of this broadening wedge like this, where it's kind of where it's coming off of this nice little breakout, and then we have this kind of broadening wedge trending up here, that oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes could be a bullish sign where we see a breakout. And when will this be confirmed? If price does come up here and creates this and is able to break up above this prior high right here, I do believe a confirmation would be is if price does break above this prior wick here, which sits at about $3.06. So if we can take this prior high out and price comes up here and creates this $3.06, I do believe at that point, guys, that would be a breakout and we could see higher prices to come. With it, just a broadening wedge pattern typically does indicate, and usually what you do is you want to draw from the bottom of this broadening wedge here to kind of see where your target is going to be. So if we kind of measure it here, we draw a little line from the top to the bottom of the start of this broadening wedge, and we apply it to what would be a breakout. If we did get a breakout right here, our target would be somewhere around 326 for a possible breakout here. Now again, am I saying that's going to happen? This is a little bit of a sloppy pattern here. No, I'm just pointing out what I'm seeing here as one possibility. Now, as I said, EOS is going to, as I said in my prior videos, EOS is going to follow Bitcoin very, very likely. Not all the time, but very, very likely EOS is going to follow Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does collapse, EOS is going to have a very hard time bucking that trend. Doesn't mean it can't. It's done it before, but it's going to have a very hard time doing that. If Bitcoin just kind of stagnates and moves sideways, I would say the probability would favor EOS to the upside. But Bitcoin, it doesn't look like it's going to do that. So I do think there's a good chance that if Bitcoin breaks down, EOS is going to break down as well. And this is the area I'd be watching it to break down to, this 245 area. And again, guys, if you do end up buying at 245, you do want to take that trade. There is a possibility of a good bounce right there off that 245 zone if it does break down there, guys. But there's also a good chance, depending on the volume and depending on what Bitcoin is doing, that we could just crash down right below that 245 and find ourselves down at 211 very quickly. So if you are looking at buying into a trade, if we do end up dropping down here, if you are looking at entering into a position at 245, targeting that 270, 275 range, as I said, I would do it very, very small, guys. Very small scalp trade. Do not go in heavy there because, again, there's a good chance this thing could end up breaking down. We could find ourselves down to 211, even possibly lower than that. Again, all depending on how Bitcoin reacts. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Till next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working, signing out.